Hello, friends! Today I'm here with the story of an amazing Japanese romantic movie called 1 Week Friend. The story itself was incredible, but its ending was even more heartwarming. This movie tells the story of a unique friendship between a boy and a girl, where the girl forgets everything from the past week every 7 days. In such a situation, how did their relationship survive? How did they manage to remember each other? That's what we're about to find out. So let's begin the story. At the very beginning, we see a high school student named Yuki searching for a book in the library. After searching for a while, he finally finds a thick but completely blank book and thinks to himself, "This is perfect for me." While chatting with his friend, Yuki comes across a library card on the table. The card belonged to a girl named Fujiyama. Excited, Yuki tells his friend, "The girl's name is so beautiful. I wonder how beautiful she must be." Saying this, he brings the card close to his face, trying to catch its scent. But little did he know, Fujiyama was standing nearby, watching everything. She quickly approaches Yuki, takes the card from him, and leaves without saying a word. After school that day, both of them unknowingly board the same metro on their way home. However, neither of them notices the other. Meanwhile, Yuki, feeling a little drowsy, accidentally leaves his thick book inside the metro and exits at his stop. Fortunately, Fujiyama finds the book and returns it to him. Yuki looks at her in surprise. Yuki checks the class notice board because their classes were being divided into groups. Luckily, he ends up in the same group as his friends. But even better, Fujiyama was in his group too. Seeing this, Yuki gets extremely excited and rushes to his classroom. After class, Yuki approaches Fujiyama to thank her for returning his book the previous day. But Fujiyama simply stares at him for a moment, then walks away without saying anything. Curious, Yuki follows her and extends his hand, hoping to become friends. However, Fujiyama politely refuses to befriend him. Still, this incident doesn't stop Yuki from trying. Fujiyama had transferred to this school only this year, so she barely knew anyone. On top of that, she always stayed alone, without any friends. But Yuki, determined to befriend her, keeps following her around. One day, Fujiyama finally notices Yuki following her and firmly tells him, "Stop following me." But just as she says this, her hand accidentally knocks over Yuki's lunchbox, sending it tumbling to the ground. Fujiyama hands her lunchbox to Yuki and leaves. Meanwhile, Yuki goes to the school's club room. Though he isn't very good at studying, he is an excellent artist. The thick blank book he took from the library was meant for drawing his cartoons. Now, lost in thought, Yuki starts sketching a cartoon of Fujiyama in the book. The next day, during lunch break, Yuki goes to return Fujiyama's lunchbox. Seeing this, Fujiyama stops eating, picks up the lunchbox, and silently walks away. But Yuki runs after her, grabs her hand and says, "I just want to be your friend." Fujiyama stares at him for a moment and replies, "I don't want to be friends with anyone. In fact, I shouldn't have any friends." Yuki is shocked by her words. Just then, one of their teachers sees this entire conversation from behind. He asks Yuki to meet him after class. After school, Fujiyama's mother arrives to pick her up. Meanwhile, Yuki goes to see his teacher. The teacher says something strange. "I know you want to be Fujiyama's friend. And honestly, if you do become her friend, I will be the happiest person." But unfortunately, Fujiyama suffers from a terrible condition. She has short-term memory loss. That means she forgets everything that happened in the previous week. Every single event, every person, except for her parents. I believe that by next Monday, Fujiyama will forget you too, and you'll become just another stranger in her life. Meanwhile, Fujiyama's mother takes her for a routine checkup. But once again, the doctor has no good news. This condition is extremely rare in medical science. There is no known cure for it yet, which means Fujiyama might have to spend the rest of her life alone, struggling with this condition. Summer arrives. Even after all this time, Fujiyama and Yuki haven't really become friends. They barely even talk to each other. One day, during their literature class, the teacher shares an important life lesson. He says that he used to write down his life events in a diary so he could remember them forever. Hearing this, Yuki suddenly comes up with an idea. What if I use a diary to help Fujiyama remember me? Without wasting time, he goes to a store during lunch break. He buys 2 identical diaries and 2 matching pens. Then he goes straight to Fujiyama and hands her one of the diaries and a pen. He says, If you have time, take a look inside this diary. And remember, next Monday, we will exchange diaries." With that, Yuki leaves. After school, Fujiyama is on her way home with her mother. She excitedly tells her about the diary exchange plan. But suddenly, one of Fujiyama's old friends calls her by name. Fujiyama's mother starts talking to the friend on her behalf because she knows her daughter has already forgotten her. That night, Fujiyama opens the diary. Inside, she finds that Yuki has written down everything that happened between them in the past week. Not only that, at the beginning of the diary, Yuki wrote about himself, how they first met, and how the idea of exchanging diaries came to his mind. After finishing the diary, Fujiyama opens a box she had with her. Inside that box were several pictures of high school Fujiyama. In one of those pictures, she saw a girl she met on the street today. Looking at them, it seemed like they used to be very close friends once. But by a cruel twist of fate, Fujiyama can no longer recognize her. Just then, her mother enters the room and forbids her from exchanging diaries, because the doctor had warned that Fujiyama should not interact with too many people, as it could put stress on her brain and worsen her condition. The next day, Fujiyama tells Yuki that she cannot exchange diaries. She reveals her illness to Yuki and, feeling hopeless, says, "I don't want to become a burden to anyone by being their friend because, in the end, everyone will forget me." But still, Yuki asks her again, "Will you be my friend?" He says, "No matter how much you ignore me, every Monday, I will ask you this same question." During class, Yuki notices that Fujiyama has left the diary and pen under her desk. Seeing this, Yuki feels extremely happy because this means Fujiyama has agreed to be his friend. That day, they exchange diaries for the first time. At night, Fujiyama starts reading Yuki's diary. Inside, Yuki had written down every single moment from their first meeting until today. After reading everything, for the first time, Fujiyama writes in the diary, "I'm sorry for rejecting you so many times. And yes, thank you for trying so hard to be my friend even after knowing about my illness. By the way, can we exchange diaries every Friday instead? That way I can read it over the weekend and remember that you are Yuki." The next day, Fujiyama hands over her diary to Yuki. This is how an unusual friendship began to form between them through diary exchanges. Meanwhile, a new boy named Azim joined their school. By now, Yuki's friends had also become Fujiyama's friends. That day, they invited Fujiyama to attend an event with them. But since they were unaware of her condition, Yuki privately asked her, "Are you sure you won't have any problems coming with us?" This time, Fujiyama truly wanted to go with them. Hearing this, Yuki became extremely happy. At first sight, Azim, seeing Fujiyama for the first time, was utterly shocked. He stared at her as if he had known her for a long time. Finally, the day of the event, Yuki meets up with Fujiyama and his two friends. The four of them enter the festival together. But due to the heavy crowd, Yuki and Fujiyama get separated from the others. That night, as they watch sky lanterns floating in the open sky, Fujiyama looks at Yuki and says, "You know, Yuki, I used to think that once my school life ended quickly, I'd be free. But now, I realize that school life is actually really beautiful. I'm no longer afraid to make new friends. I no longer hate Mondays. Instead, I eagerly wait for them. Everything happened because of you, Yuki. Thank you so much." Under the sky filled with thousands of floating lanterns, Yuki and Fujiyama were overwhelmed with happiness. Meanwhile, Azim, the new student, had come to the festival with Fujiyama's old friend, Maya. Azim asked Maya, "Do you still talk to Fujiyama?" Maya replied, "No, she transferred to another school." After Maya left, Azim suddenly ran into Fujiyama. From behind, he called out, "You are so selfish, Fujiyama." As soon as Fujiyama heard those words, a flood of blurry memories rushed into her mind. It felt as if many people were trying to scream something at her. But suddenly the pressure on her brain became too much, and she collapsed on the spot. When she regained consciousness, Yuki was by her side in the hospital. He had been taking care of her every moment. But unfortunately, by then, Fujiyama had completely forgotten him. Seeing Yuki's devastation, Fujiyama's father came to talk to him. He explained, "Actually, when Fujiyama was at her old school, she was in a car accident. Since then, she has suffered from a severe case of short-term memory loss. The doctor had said that it would be best to transfer her to another school. because interacting with her old friends made things difficult for her. Whenever she tried to recall past memories, her condition worsened. "I'm very grateful to you, Yuki. You have done so much for my daughter. But after today's incident, I believe it would be best for Fujiyama to be on her own in Dhaka. I want you to keep your distance from her as well." But Yuki replied, "I will only leave if Fujiyama herself asks me to walk away from her life. Otherwise, I will never abandon my friend." As usual, the next day, Yuki met Fujiyama again. He gave her the diary once more and said, "If you read this, you'll understand everything that happened to you." This time, Fujiyama decided to continue their friendship. That day, Azim was officially introduced to the rest of the students in the classroom. After class, Yuki took Fujiyama to the library to borrow some books. Unfortunately, Fujiyama had left her library card at home, so Yuki used his own card to issue a book for her. Meanwhile, a big event was about to take place at school. The students were busy decorating the school, working late into the night. Amidst all the hustle, Yuki finally confessed his feelings to Fujiyama for the first time. He told her, "I really love you." Fujiyama stood there, completely speechless. While the other students were busy with their work, Fujiyama found herself alone for a moment. Taking this opportunity, Azim approached her. Once again, he confronted her, saying, "You are a liar, Fujiyama. After everything you did with me, now you act like you don't even know me? Did you forget that on the day you wanted to meet me, I waited for you the entire day and night? But you betrayed me and never even showed up." After hearing all this, Fujiyama started to vaguely remember a lot of things. She just said, "I came, but after that, I can't remember anything." But then, the next day during the school's event, Maya, that girl, came to meet Fujiyama. And there, she met both Azim and Yuki again. She told Azim, "Actually, I came here today to tell Fujiyama something." After hearing this, Yuki went to bring Fujiyama. And soon, Yuki arrived with Fujiyama in front of Azim and Maya. Actually, Azim, Fujiyama, and Maya used to study at the same school. During that time, Fujiyama and Azim became very good friends. Azim secretly liked her, and the day before Fujiyama transferred schools, Azim had told her about his feelings. But poor Fujiyama, hearing these words from Azim, was at a loss for words. She didn't know what to say, and in the middle of all this, some students from their class caught sight of them together, causing a strange rumor to spread like wildfire. After this, Maya, who was Fujiyama's closest friend, stopped talking to her, because Maya also secretly liked Azim. Then, Maya said, "A few days after that incident, one night, we saw Azim standing alone, waiting for someone. At that moment, we saw you walking toward him, but before you could meet him, we blocked your way. That day, we all scolded you a lot, saying that you were trying to take Azim away from us. And then you, terrified, tried to run away, and in the process, you got into an accident with a car. That accident is the reason you are in such a bad condition today. I am responsible for all the bad things in your life. Today, I have come to ask for your forgiveness. Please forgive me, Fujiyama. I can't carry this burden of guilt anymore." After hearing this, Fujiyama started crying uncontrollably. But as usual, Yuki comforted her. Fujiyama said, "You know, Yuki, I always considered Maya my closest friend. I was always alone, so I enjoyed spending time with her. But when she stopped talking to me, I didn't feel like going to school anymore. I always hoped that Monday would never come and that Sunday's holiday would never end, so I wouldn't have to go to school. You know, that night, I actually went to answer Azim's proposal because I liked him too." Upon hearing this, Yuki was stunned. Her love story, before it could even begin, ended in such a tragic way. That night, in despair, Yuki tried to burn the diary and pen he had, trying to destroy all the memories. But can the pain of a broken heart be so easily erased? Anyway, a long time passed after this incident. Fujiyama was now with Azim, and not only that, even the name Yuki slowly started fading from her memory. By then, their high school final year had arrived, and because of this, Yuki and Fujiyama's branches had separated, causing their classes to be different from each other. One day, Yuki handed over that thick book to his younger brother and told him, "You can return this to the library again. Actually, this book contains some pictures that Fujiyama drew for me, so now I want to keep these memories away from me." As time passed, the day of their farewell ceremony arrived. The students started congratulating each other, promising to stay in touch, and they wrote signatures in each other's graduation books to leave memories behind. Now, Yuki asked Fujiyama for her graduation book to sign it. After signing, Fujiyama noticed what was written in the book. "I want to see you smile once again." Seeing this, Fujiyama felt strange. Anyway, as Fujiyama was leaving school with Azim, she was called from the library because there was still a book she hadn't returned. However, Fujiyama couldn't remember taking any book that she hadn't returned. But then, Yuki's younger brother came and returned that thick book to the library, which had been forgotten. This book was originally borrowed by Yuki through Fujiyama's card for himself. But out of curiosity, when Fujiyama opened the book, she saw that from the beginning to the end, the book was filled with pictures of the events from her meeting with Yuki to their separation. The pictures were enough for Fujiyama to recall all the memories of Yuki. In immense pain, Fujiyama says, "How could I forget these precious moments?" Seeing Fujiyama in pain, Azim himself tells her, "It would be a good idea for you to meet Yuki." Hearing this, Fujiyama starts searching for Yuki all over the school, but unfortunately she couldn't find Yuki anywhere. However, by chance, she saw Yuki standing absent-mindedly on the school roof. She screamed, "Yuki!" Yuki was surprised, as he couldn't understand how Fujiyama could remember him. But still, Fujiyama went to him and said, "Every time I lost my memory, every time I forgot you, you told me you wanted to be my friend. Please forgive me, Yuki. But today I want to ask you, will you be my friend?" With that extraordinary dialogue, today's story ends here. Throughout the story, I felt like I was watching an anime movie, one that someone had turned into a live-action film. It was amazing. I never imagined the story would end like this. I hope you liked the story. Let me know in the comments how you felt. I'm signing off for today. Goodbye.